What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the Be Greyt podcast, episode 60. And in today's episode, I'm going to be doing something that I did preseason last season or before last season. And I'm going to go over my top 10 most anticipated games for the 2025 college football season. There will be some honorable mentions, which that's where we'll start. If I still want to go further after I finish, I might go ahead and just dive into the ACC preview I have already completed. But we'll see how quickly I get through these top 10 games. We might just save the ACC preview for next week, but we will see. And just to clarify so I'm going to do exactly what I did last season with these conference previews. I'll give you, my conference championship game, dark horse, most surprising, all those stuff, or all those things. We will be doing it again when we get closer to the season because it is only May. But I figured, it'd be something fun to at least start diving into it, But we'll see if we get to that. Let's just start with the top 10 most anticipated games. We'll start with the honorable mentions. First up, Georgia Tech versus Colorado. I love this game. I love the vibe of this game. And I'm the type of guy where I love these random teams playing each other who are in opposite conferences. I love those types of games, like a Tennessee versus Syracuse, right? Which is not on the list, but just as an example. Georgia Tech versus a Colorado. I love those types of games. Similar colors with these programs. They both have gold at least, but I'm interested because it's going to tell us right away what to think of both of these teams. It's going to tell us right away, okay, what does Colorado look like post Shedeur, Travis Hunter era? What does Georgia Tech look like? Georgia Tech has promise this season. And I think that Colorado, personally, I feel like Colorado is going to be disappointing and take a large step backwards. But if Colorado can come out and beat a good Georgia Tech team, okay, Georgia Tech is a good team this year. If Colorado can come out and beat them, then you have to start taking Colorado a little seriously in the Big 12. Not nationally, but in the Big 12. And if Georgia Tech can pull out the win, then I think you have to start taking Georgia Tech a little more seriously. It's a big game for both of those programs. Auburn versus Baylor. It's another one of those kind of just random matchups, and I love it. I think Auburn is the better team, but again, and this is what I love about a lot of these week one games, and there's quite a few week one games on my list because week one is very strong. Week one is just of massive importance to a lot of teams. Auburn being one of them. Auburn cannot lose this game. Hugh Freeze cannot lose this game. Auburn is too talented to lose to a Baylor team whose coach is his seat's getting warm. His seat's getting warm, and in that way, it's important game for Baylor as well. But Hugh Freeze can't lose this game. Jackson Arnold needs to come out, play well. You have the weapons around you to succeed, and I don't ever think that Auburn's defense is going to be bad. So you're going to have the things around you to succeed against a team like Baylor. You just actually have to go out and do it. Florida, Miami. This was a game last year that Florida did not have a good time. Miami really took it to them in the swamp. This time it's in Miami. I give Florida a way better chance to win this game than I did last year. I think that Florida is a promising team slowly on the up and up. I think they're being a little overrated right now. I mean, people are putting Florida almost in the top 10. That's absurd, just being honest. I think DJ Lagway has a lot of potential. I still question some of the weapons he has around him. I question that secondary on the defense as well, personally. But this is a game that once again, similar to last year, I feel like both these teams really need this win. Now, Billy Napier was able to recover, but will he be able to recover this year if they lose this game again? And Miami, if Miami loses this game, I mean, look out. And I'm not going to lie to you. I lean towards picking Florida in this game because I've never trusted Miami. I don't trust them now. I don't know why anyone would. And I probably won't trust them 10 years from now. And a large part of that is because I also don't trust Mario Cristobal. Miami is that team that every year everyone just swears that they're going to be great, and they're always they're all right. They're all right. They lose games they're not supposed to, and they don't even make the conference championship game, and yada yada yada. But an important game for both teams and both head coaches. TCU versus North Carolina, again, one of those random. It's an ACC team versus a Big 12 team. I think it's going to be a good uniform game personally. But let's be honest. Why is this game on the list? We know why it's on the list, even if it's an honorable mention. It's because Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is the head coach of North Carolina. This game is week 1, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to see Bill Belichick or how this team looks with Bill Belichick as head coach. What does a college football team look like being ran by Bill Belichick and his I guess she's his fiance now, although I think it's more apropos to say that he's her hostage. But either way, you get my point. And then the last honorable mention, Georgia, Florida. If Florida really wants to show that they are actually improving as a football team, they need to go out and give Georgia an actual run for their money. They need to go. And look, they were on their way to doing that last year. And then the injury to DJ Lagway, and it kind of just fell apart from there for them. But that's going to be an important game for Billy Napier, especially if he doesn't win that Miami game. You know, that'll be a way to right the ship in a way. But let's get into the top 10. At 10, I have LSU at Alabama. Look, if you've been listening to any of these episodes, you know how I feel about LSU. I think they showed tremendous promise for next season. They can't lose this game. They can't. And I feel similarly, especially if they lose to Clemson, they can't lose this game. They can't. I won't allow it. You have to beat someone of relevance. And look, I believe LSU is better than Clemson and Alabama, but at some point you actually have to go out there, play the game, and win. Okay? At some point that has to happen. And that's me talking to the LSU team. That's me talking mainly to Brian Kelly. You actually have to go out there and win. Okay? Look, you may lose to Clemson. Clemson's a really good team. I think Clemson's better than Alabama. And you're at Clemson. You're also at Alabama. But you got to win one of them. Can you still make the playoff with 2 losses? Can you still make the SEC championship with 2 losses, especially one of them not being an SEC team? Sure. But I'm not going to sit here and lie. I would think way less of this LSU team if you lose both of them. Especially this game against Alabama, because I think you're significantly better than Alabama. I do not trust this Alabama team. I don't know why people do. I think their offensive line is one of the best in the country, but they have a question mark at quarterback. They have a question mark at wide. They have Ryan Williams, but other than that, it's a question mark at wide receiver. Their secondary is still questionable. I mean, I'm just saying. At 9, I have Michigan at Oklahoma, a game that not a lot of people are talking about. I like this. I like this because I find these two teams to be similar. There are 2 teams who had down years last year. There are 2 teams who are expected to be significantly better and need to be significantly better. There are 2 teams with new quarterbacks. There are 2 teams with new running backs, Jaden Ott and Justice Haynes. And obviously the quarterbacks, John Mateer and Bryce Underwood. I think this game is fascinating. because I think it immediately tells you where both these teams are as far as their trajectory. As far as who needs the win more, Oklahoma by far. Oklahoma needs this win. Because if Michigan loses, they can sit there and say, well, it was a true freshman quarterback. Oklahoma's a solid team. If Oklahoma loses to a true freshman quarterback when you got John Mateer in here, you got Jaden Ott in here, that's not good. It's not good enough. Okay. And look, I think if Brent goodness gracious, something got stuck in my throat. I think if Venables has a similar season to what he had last year, there's no way. I think he's fired. I think he's fired. Because at Oklahoma, they expect more. They expect better. At 8, I mentioned this game, LSU Clemson. I find it. I think Brian Kelly needs to win. He needs it so bad. Clemson can afford the loss. Brian Kelly and LSU need to prove that they can win a week 1 game against a team of significance. Look back to last year. Let's think back to last year, where LSU lost week 1 to USC. Think back to that. Do we realize how bad of a loss that actually was? Like, in the moment, we were like, okay, maybe USC is promising. Miller Moss looks good. And then USC fell off a cliff the rest of the season. And then we sat there and we were like, how did LSU lose to USC week 1? And it just makes you wonder, what is it with week 1? LSU and Brian Kelly have to get over the hump. They have to get over the week 1 hump. And I'm telling you now, I'm going to pick LSU to win that game. And I'm also telling you now, if LSU does not win this game, I don't know if I will ever pick them to win a week 1 game again until they prove to me that they can actually win in week 1. Point blank, period. At 7, Oregon versus Penn State. This game, it'll be a Big Ten championship rematch. It will be Oregon with a new quarterback going against a Penn State defense that's usually really good. It will be Drew Aller trying to find redemption. And personally, it's on this list, and there's another Penn State game on this list that we'll get to later, where I'm starting to wonder if my Drew Aller hate has gone so far to where I'm simply putting this on the list because I can't wait to see Drew Aller fail. Because I can't wait to see everyone try and do. Honestly, I don't even know why I'm saying that. I was going to say I can't wait to see the media have to do a 180 switcheroo and say, oh, Drew Aller, he's not as good as we thought he was. But the media is not going to do that because Drew Aller has shown that he's not good, and they still pretend like he is. At 6, Ohio State, Michigan. This game has to be on the list until Ryan Day wins. I think this game has to be on the list until Ryan Day figures out how to beat his boogeyman, which apparently is Michigan. That was one of the most embarrassing losses of the entire season last year. And isn't that crazy to say that your national champion also had quite possibly the most embarrassing loss last season? I mean, that Michigan team was awful. They could barely complete a forward pass, and you lost. And you lost at home. You lost at home with a team that you bought for, what was it, $20 million? I mean, Ryan Day has to find a way to beat this team. He has to get the devil off his shoulder. Okay? And look, this Michigan team is going to be better than it was last year. And I think this Ohio State team is absolutely going to be worse than they were last year. But Ohio State is still better than this team. Like he has to figure it out. He has to. Because even though Ohio State fans can accept winning the Natty, But they will never accept losing to Michigan. That's just a reality. That's just a fact. At 5, Alabama at Georgia. This is on the list as a Georgia fan, primarily because finally Kirby gets to play Alabama in Athens. It is about time. Because what I think, because Kirby has had to play Alabama in Tuscaloosa, I think twice. Because last year, and then I think we played them in Tuscaloosa in 2020. But finally, they have to come to Athens, and I can't wait to see it. Georgia hasn't lost a home game since I think 2019 against South Carolina, a game that we shouldn't have even lost, by the way. I was at the game. Yikes. I think this is honestly similar with the LSU thing. If Georgia cannot beat this Alabama team in Athens this year, legitimately, I don't know if I could ever pick them to beat Alabama until it happens again. Honestly, because at that point I'm done. At that point, I just can't understand it and I can't fathom it. This is the last time I plant my flag on this hill. This is the last time. I can't do it anymore, Kirby. At 4, Notre Dame versus Miami. Two teams who, one had a disappointing season because they didn't even make the playoff. Another who lost in the national championship game. Both with new quarterbacks. One at least has experience, but both with high expectations for the season and a lot to prove. And I'm very intrigued to see how this game goes. I think that, honestly, I don't know where I lean. Marcus Freeman is the better coach by a lot, in my opinion. I think Miami might have slightly better talent. But again, we'll see. And I think, again, this is one of those games where you learn a lot about a team. I think this game is week 1, I think. At 3, Penn State at Ohio State. It's on here for the same reason as the Oregon game, except it's higher up because A, it's Ohio State, they're the reigning national champions, and B, Drew Aller hasn't been able to beat Ohio State, and he's played bad every time he's played against Ohio State. And we'll see if that continues. This could be a moment for Drew Aller to prove himself against an Ohio State team who's not going to be as good as they were last year. I think everyone can admit that. And this is supposed to be Penn State's year, right? Everyone has them top 5. I don't know if I've seen anyone have them outside the top 3 except for me. And I don't even have them in the top 5, but you know why. But this is a moment for him to prove himself and for the team to prove themselves. At 2, Texas at Georgia. I think it's self-explanatory. Texas, they made it to the semifinals last year, but they lost to Georgia twice. One of those times being to a backup quarterback. They didn't win the SEC championship game. And really, when it mattered most, Sark, Quinn, and this Texas team in general fell short when it mattered most. They lost to Georgia at home in the regular season, got another chance against them in the SEC championship, lost again, and then they got Ohio State, and they held in there, and then when it mattered most, Quinn Ewers choked, and so did Sark. And this is a team who they need to, first of all, they need to prove they can beat Georgia. And then we can start talking, okay, are they going to win the SEC? Are they national championship contenders? How does Arch do in Athens against this Georgia defense? We'll see. We'll see. And at 1, to me, this is easy and obvious. It's Texas at Ohio State week 1. It's a rematch from the college football semifinal, which when you look back at it was kind of your national championship game in a way, because Texas was better than Notre Dame, respectfully to them. So this is a rematch. It's at Ohio State. You got Arch Manning's first start at Ohio State, which is crazy. But you also have Julian Sayan's first start. Both of these teams are going to look significantly different with Arch at the helm, Julian Sayan at the helm. But, Texas lost a few key pieces, and Ohio State lost a lot of key pieces, especially on that defense. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see how these teams look. And again, whichever team loses this game, their season's not over. They can still recover easily. But whoever wins this game is going to be talked about very highly. I mean, that's just plain. Whoever wins this game is probably going to be ranked number one in the AP poll. I mean, let's just be real. But it's going to be fascinating to see. But that's my top 10 games. I think I'm just going to stop there for today. Next week, we'll get into my ACC preview, and I'm going to kind of look and see how I did last year. We'll talk about how I did last year with my predictions, and then we'll go on and I'll talk about my new predictions. And we will do this again, probably in late July, probably early August, because it is only May, and I feel like my opinions can change between now and by the time we get to the start of the season in August. But we'll start with ACC, then we'll probably go Big 10, Big 12, and we'll end with SEC probably. But yeah, that's the plan for the next few weeks. I hope everyone has a tremendous rest of the week. It's a beautiful Wednesday afternoon outside, or at least where I am. And please don't forget to go out and be great.